Hey guys, Full Throttle here with a new video after many months, since November was my previous video, and I had intended to get in another one or two before then, but whatever. So, I decided, hey, people are doing tier lists now for lots of random shit. Thought, hey, maybe I'll just make my own tier list, but on something that's not so random. So I decided I would go for premium. Premium, but it's post-premium collection. So what I'm guessing is going to be like the strongest decks out once premium collection comes out officially. So without further ado, here we go. So first up, first deck, Ange-Toi, best deck in the format. It's going right into S tier. It's got everything. It's fast, it's consistent, it's got great aggression, it's got great defense. It has some disruption through calling Hanali, stuff like that. It's about as definitive of an S tier as you can get. This would be the pinnacle of tier 1. Then, Victor, I'd say personally it's A tier. It's very strong, but I don't think that it's quite as strong as Ange-Toi. Then we got Luard. Luard, I'm going to say, I'll say that's A tier. Luard's also a very strong deck. Actually, no, S tier. Because, it's, if the person is not running Hanali, it's A tier, but if they are running Hanali, it's S tier. Because then a bunch of its bad matchups, when it doesn't have Hanali, are just completely killed. So, yeah, that's my thought process. We're going to go Standard plus Spike Brothers. I think it's A tier right now. It's still an extremely strong deck, but, it's... Well, once it gets its new support, I think it'll be back up to S tier, but right now it's A tier because, well, it's good, but it's missing a bit because it's just lacking in terms of scaling to what is now considered good. Because the deck scales amazingly, but it doesn't scale as amazingly as it used to. So that's my reasoning. We got Geese, F tier. Actually, no, E tier. Sorry. E tier because it used to be tier 1, but now most decks have a very strong aggression. So Geese loses out against those. And because of that, it becomes impossible for Geese to win against a lot of matchups. But it does have several good matchups, in my opinion. So because of that, it's not F tier. Then we got Tom Water, but specifically the Magus variant, because the regular variant is just a worse version of the Magus variant. I'd put it in A tier, alongside Standard Plus, Spike Brothers, and Victor. So S and A tier are tier 1. B through D are tier 2, and then tier 3 is E and F. Just as a heads up. So then Castile, A tier. And the reasoning for Magus Tom Water is because Magus Tom Water has a lot of really good resources. It can really stack the deck much better than regular Tom Water. So that means that not only are you able to get to your Toms pretty easily, but you can make sure with more consistency that you are able to get your crits off and kill them at like 2. So it's pretty strong. Then we got Gridora, A tier, especially because of that new stride. That new stride is just broken. It's a full field stun, so it just makes it better machinings already. And they can't call from the deck, and they can't G-guard. So it's guard restrict, prevents them from superior calling from the deck. Overall, it's just really good. And because it's able to just keep denying resources, it's really good in my opinion. Then this is going to be a bit controversial to some people, but I think that Great Nature right now is B tier. It's very strong, don't get me wrong, but it's lacking in terms of, so its mid and late are not as strong as Victor's, but its early is just about as weak. So because of that, I think that it's not allowed to be, if it's almost like a worse Victor in terms of what it can do, then I don't think it should be in the same tier as Victor. Then we got Ezel. People are going to get mad about this, but I think C tier because the deck is not consistent. It gets more consistent with Excel 2, but it's just a deck that can't really do anything if you don't get your Bowman in turn 2. Because if you don't get Bowman turn 2, you literally lose. Or if you go second, you lose straight up. You have to go first and get Bowman and have some good attackers. If you don't have any, if you are missing one of those things, then you're screwed. You will just lose. And because of that, I can't put it any higher than C tier because it's not able to be reliably good. It's either really, really good or really, really bad. But even then, Alstrois is able to be doing what Ezel does, but almost every game. So I can't really say Ezel is at that same level. Then we got Blasters. I think they're C tier. Actually, no. D tier. Blasters have a good OTK, but it's pretty easy to deal with, like to counter pick. And because of that, it makes it so that you really can't, play Blasters if your opponent knows what they're doing. So because of that, I really can't put it any higher. All right. So then Ripples, F tier. Immediately F tier because in my opinion, Ripples are just really, really bad right now. Well, they've always been bad ever since they got hit, and then even when they got unhit, they became bad because they were just so outdated. Their only good matchup is Geese. That's it. And Geese is E tier, so because that's its only good matchup, and Geese at least has it can cheese a good matchup out of a few decks. Ripples can't cheese a good matchup out of anything. So it can't really be put anywhere. That's in a decent spot. Chaos, F tier. Ostrois is the best deck, and it hard counters Chaos. Luard doesn't give a fuck, and that's a problem. Ezel, extremely popular, has a hard counter. Victor is a hard counter, is one of the best decks in the format. Gridora just doesn't give a shit. So many decks either that are at the top or are popular either don't give a shit or are the best decks in the format. And, they either don't give a shit or are a hard counter. And because of that, Chaos, I see people trying to use it, but Chaos just doesn't work. Especially because Glue Ball was very disappointing. Alright, then we go deleters, regular deleters. I'm going to put them in D tier. D tier, actually, no, E tier. Deleters, regular ones. They have a good rush. If you get the rush, you could win. And note, once you get to E tier, it's decks that at least have like a good way to win. Actually, I think I'll put Ripples in E tier just to be nice. And yeah, I guess deleters in D tier. The idea is that once you get to E tier, those are decks that can win a few games, but then D tier to S tier, well, the difference between D tier and B tier, like a D tier deck can take games off of a B tier deck, more like a 40-60 sometimes, and a C tier versus an A tier, that's also sort of like a 40-60. So it gets really close once you get between tiers 1 and 2. Tier 3 though is E and F, and so it's like top of tier 1, bottom of tier 1, top of tier 2, middle tier 2, lower tier 2, and then tier 3. But like pretty shit, and then there's like unplayable. So that's just my description of it. Ripples can't really do anything. Deleters though, they have their good rush, and if the opponent doesn't know what they're doing, or if they don't get a good enough hand, like they can't re-ride, or they can't stride into something good, or if they need their stride skill, you will win. So you do have your matchups that you can just cheese to win. Now, Deleter Messiah, I'm going to put at C tier. It's a better version of Deleters, but it also combines things from Messiah, and because of that, Deleter Messiah can really, like, it can use, like, Given, and it can use Integral Messiah. If you can use both in the same deck, then that means that together you can make, like, a really, really dangerous combo. Because you can have a restanding Vanguard on your opponent, while your opponent has 5 cards in hand at most. And that really hurts them. That's like one of the biggest combos. Grand Blue, I'd put at C tier right now as well. Grand Blues they're just sort of falling behind now. It's a real shame, honestly. I like that people really enjoyed Grand Blue, like Solemn Vanguard when he used it to get top 8, but since it has no new cards yet, and Scaredick I think is cool, but I don't know how well it's gonna work in premium yet. But this is post premium collection, not post EB08. So Grand Blue can function enough, but it sort of just feels like a worse version of Standard plus Spike Brothers, in my opinion. Then we get Dragonic Overlord. I think that it's C tier as well. Actually, no, B tier. Because of the new stride for Kagero, the Doomjeed. That's a really good card. And combine that with being able to then take from that pressure and then applying it to later turns, you can really rack up damage very quickly. And Morikuma Loop, B tier as well. Reason why I'm putting that in B tier, actually, yeah, because Overlord also does lack some key features, like he doesn't really have much defense. It has denial, but then there's also decks that just don't give a shit now. So that's the issue. And then the Morikuma Loop, it can be kind of inconsistent. Well, not necessarily inconsistent, but slow. But once you get it off, you win. Straight up. You can't lose once you get the loop off. I've played a few games with it. Well, actually, no, I played like a lot of games with that deck on Cardfight Area just to see how it works. And once you get the loop off, people get really mad when you play it. It's a very fun deck. Morikumo. Sorry, not Morikumo. Nubatama. Nubatama I'd put in B tier. Specifically, it's the kind that has the crow with Rene, or the one that binds everything but 4. And then the reason why is because this is able to really cheese very quickly. And if you can get the requirement to get the crow off by first or second stride, you just win straight up. So definitely think that it's B tier because it's able to it's got, this is where like the cheese gets like really, really strong, but it's not super inconsistent, which is like one of Ezelt's biggest flaws. There's the Songster loop. I put that in B tier as well. It's very piece reliant. It needs more pieces than Victor to do what it needs to do, and it's not first stride to do the Songster loop. It's second, maybe third. So because of that, it's a bit slower, and it can be interrupted by like disruption of several kinds. So I'm putting it in B tier, and then Nova Grappler Mill, F tier. The deck straight up, people have memed this deck, but some people have like considered it, and then some people have considered using Shout in like their Victor decks. Anything with Shout, honestly, F tier. Shout either is a +1 to your opponent, or your opponent gets resources. And while on the other hand, it's either a +1 to you or you gain resources, that's also on your turn when you should be getting pluses or resources. Not when your opponent is just getting free resources because they are just sitting there and their opponent, which is you, just decides, hey, I'm just gonna use this skill to possibly give my opponent a free card. So yeah. And overall, I think that as a tier list, the entire metagame in Premium right now is very strong. As you can see, I put a lot of decks in tiers 1 and 2. In tiers 1 and 2, I already put... in tier 2 alone, I put 10 decks in it, and then in tier 1, I put 7. So that's 17 decks that I put as like ones that could win tournaments. Because if it's at least in tier 2 and it won a tournament, I would not be surprised. So, yeah. If there are any decks I missed, please just tell me. I have been like studying a lot for classes, so I haven't been quite as much in depth in Vanguard recently, but I'm trying to get back into it since I have more time now. So just tell me what decks I missed, or if you think a deck should be higher or lower, just tell me why. And then if you just straight up disagree, tell me why. And I'm Full Throttle. This is my premium tier list for post-premium collection, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.